Apparently the other night, or within the last week, because I've been getting a lot of email about this, and I even received one telephone call. Apparently somebody called the Alex Jones broadcast and asked him why he didn't have me on the air, or asked him something about me. Alex Jones said he had me on the air once before, several years ago, and had to cut me off the air because of the foul language that I used. So on the air tonight, I'm going to tell you, Alex Jones, you are a bold-faced, miserable, stinking little coward liar.
What's going on, Mr. Cooper?
Hello.
Yeah, that's one of my friends just called in. He's got an Apache over his house with camera pods and infrared taking film. We're going to play that on our TV show. This is just wonderful. We get followed around by unmarked police cars, openly taking 35mm photographs of us. That's just wonderful, isn't it?
Well, it's just one other manifestation of the Nazi Gestapo police state, which has taken over this country.
Yeah, it's just... Again, I mean, I get on this program 6 days a week, and I know how you feel when I talk to you this week. And I'm 24 years old. I'm ready to just say, screw it. Because you got these people cramming cheeseburgers in their mouths, and they love it. I mean, doesn't it ever anger you?
Well, of course it does. What angers me most is the stupidity of the vast herd of American sheeple out there that think they know something, and they don't even know what planet they're on, to tell you the truth.
No, they don't. Simple things like private banks print the money and enslave everyone. Simple things like Clinton's a transnational agent. Well, your book, Behold a Pale Horse, is well known to almost everybody that has any know-how on any of these subjects. You wrote that in 1988, didn't you, sir?
Well, actually, I wrote it over a period of years, back beginning in the early 80s and continuing up into about 88. I finished it, I believe, in 89, and I may have added a couple of things in 90, and then it was published in December of 1990.
December of 1990.
Mm-hmm.
How many copies are out? Quite a few?
I have no idea. It's been the #1 underground bestseller of all time with no advertising whatsoever, and people sell it on the street corners in New York City. Barnes & Noble had to take it off the shelf in their New York City bookstore because it's, by their own admission, it's the most stolen book in their inventory.
The most stolen book in their inventory?
Yeah.
Well, I know people have got tons of them around here. Why don't you tell people, sir, just basically an overview of what Behold a Pale Horse tells the public? And now it's even more incredible that so much of what you've written has come true in the last 8 years.
Yeah, every prediction that I ever made has come true, except for one, and that was only because I had not realized that they had gone as far as they have, and that prediction that I was wrong about was that Manuel Noriega could not be tried in American court and sentenced to an American prison, as he was the head of a sovereign nation and thus had diplomatic immunity, just like anyone he would send to our country to represent his country. And, of course, that certainly proved that no one in the world is safe now from the encroaching New World Order, and they can go after anybody they want to, including the President of the United States if they want to. And Americans don't understand that. They think we can go after somebody that's the head of a foreign country, but we're still safe. We're not safe. Nobody's safe anymore.
That's because the global mafia runs things, and our president's just a little drill bit that they, a little front man, a little pitch man. Hello, sir?
I'm sorry, go ahead, my wife.
I understand. Well, I know you're, we'll get into what's been going on there in Arizona a little bit later. I really appreciate you taking out the time to do this program with your busy schedule. Where do you think things are going to be in the next 2 years? It's just like this. Whenever some little slime ball comes up to the gate and opens up the castle gate and lowers the drawbridge for the enemy to come in, the first person the enemy kills is that traitor, because the enemy knows that next week that little rat traitor is going to open the gate for somebody else.
That's right.
That's it.
Go against the Constitution now, they'll go against socialism later.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as the nose in your face. So all you little traitors marching around out there think you're gonna be some big whiz in this new world order. You're not. You're gonna be right up there on the scaffold, hanging with the rest of them.
Well, sir, again, Mr. Cooper, have a good one, and thanks for being with us this evening. Again, this is all, I guess it's not good news, it's not bad news, it is just the news, and I'll be trying to keep in touch with you. God bless.
You too.
Take care.
I want you to understand that this little series that we're doing is nothing personal against Alex Jones or anybody else. But I happen to know for a fact, absolute fact, and listen to me very carefully, that people who practice this kind of broadcasting and claim to be an American patriot do nothing but discredit all of us eventually. It's wrong. It is absolutely wrong. This guy would take a call, and some caller would report something, and instead of saying, well, we're not, like I do on this broadcast, when somebody calls in and wants to tell a rumor, I tell them, no, we don't do that on this broadcast. If you want to call me tomorrow, I'll check it out. If it turns out to be true and the listening audience needs to hear it, then, we'll make arrangements for you to call in, and it can be your story, and we'll do it. But that's the only way it's done on this broadcast. All of these other people, they take phone calls. And a lot of these phone calls are people spreading rumors. And these rumors, 99% of them turn out to be wrong. And it's wrong to allow that to happen. Especially when the host takes it and runs with it. Without any checking, without any calling, without any research, without anything. This is one of the people who pulls faxes off the fax machine and reads them over the air. This is the one of people who indiscriminately reads Associated Press wire reports and ABC wire reports and news releases and press releases without checking them out. Associated Press, UPI, especially ABC, have been well known to plant fake, phony, and false stories. We've all discovered that over the years. No radio host who reports the news, especially on a day when he knows that a good segment of the population is afraid, that we've been told to expect the collapse of civilization as we know it, and all kinds of things like that, to participate in this kind of fear-mongering. Listen very carefully, folks. This will frost you, and then we'll talk about it. I may stop the tape at certain portions, and we'll talk about it then. Listen very carefully. This is just snippets taken from the first 45 minutes of the Alex Jones show on December the 31st, New Year's Eve. This is news. What I'm reporting here to you is hard news. This could have resulted in the shutdown of the whole country, the declaration of martial law, mass hysteria and panic by millions of people. And this is the guy, along with a few others, but this is the main guy who was. Listen carefully.
Cash machines are failing in Britain and now other European countries. They're finding large amounts of explosives in France. Vladimir Putin, who is known as Vladimir the Ruthless, and using all his profanity on national TV, you name it. We won't read the profanity here, but we've got it. This person is on an unbelievable power trip and resembles a demon. He is a creature of the IMF and the World Bank and international communism. He is a former KGB head. And this information is vital, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing the New World Order really come out in full force. More wars than have been in the last 50 years are going on right now. The war in Chechnya is raging in Grozny with, reports of hundreds of thousands dying.
Is that true, folks? Are there more wars going on right now than in the last 50 years? Are there hundreds of thousands of people dying right now in Chechnya? Listen to this. This man is just making it up right out of his head as he goes along.
20 to 40,000 civilians trapped in the city. Russian Hinds are being shot down. Tanks are being blown to bits. Massive Grad unguided rocket attacks are being launched on the city indiscriminately right now. Air and artillery bombardments as well. It's absolutely out of control. It is pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you the news first on Y2K. The newest developments: the Pennsylvania nuclear plant has been shut down. One of the main systems transferring the power from it failed, but they say it's not a Y2K problem. And the things I'm experiencing here in Austin, Texas: the shelves are empty of water and some gas stations are running out of fuel. Here in Central Texas and in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the shortwave is basically down, ladies and gentlemen. Went off right as I went on the air. The big news on Y2K. Then we'll start going to your call.
What he's saying is deception. It's fear-mongering. It scared the hell out of literally millions of people, and it got worse. I was only on the Alex Jones show one time. It was years ago, when I didn't know who he was, when I didn't realize what a liar and a coward and a sensationalist bullshit artist that he is. He was on one little FM station down in Texas. He wasn't on all the stuff that he's on now. And I agreed to be on his broadcast. That's when I was doing guest appearances on broadcasts, years ago. I was not cut off. I did not use any kind of foul language whatsoever. He treated me very well, and I stayed on for the whole show. Some of you in Texas know that that's true because you heard the broadcast and you taped it. Later, when I found out who Alex Jones was and what he was doing to the truth, and what a cowardly liar and sensationalist he really is, every time he called me after that, I have always refused to appear on his broadcast. Absolutely refused to lend him any credibility whatsoever by appearing on his broadcast. And that made him very angry. I've also revealed him for the lying sensationalist bullshit artist that he is by every once in a while bringing to your attention the lies and the deceit and the rumors that he spreads over the airwaves that are not good for any of us, and they're not good for the nation. They are especially not good for militia and patriots. The most disgusting broadcast he ever did was on New Year's Eve, the year 2000, the New Year's Eve, 1999, bringing in the year 2000, which he went completely out of his mind and claimed that Russia had launched intercontinental ballistic missiles with multiple warheads at the United States of America and actually panicked millions of people who were putting their children and their belongings in their cars and heading for the hills. Now, there's lots of things that can be said about me. Nobody needs to lie about me. Sometimes I am irritating. Sometimes I absolutely will not suffer fools and am just as rude as I can be. Nobody has to lie about me, Alex Jones. So I suggest that the next time somebody calls your broadcast and asks them about me, you tell the truth. There's lots of truth that you can tell about me. But don't ever lie on me, buddy, because I'll chop you off at your ankles. I will chew you up. I will spit you out for the lying, stinking, rotten little coward that you are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have to say about Mr. Sensationalist, lying, rumor-mongering, bullshit artist, Alex Jones. Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Cooper.
Hi.
Listen, that Alex Jones interview was directly after you published the Veritas June 26, 1998 issue about the Cooper family being targeted by the feds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah,
And
back in 1990. So did he kick me off the air?
No, he's a liar, and you pointed it out, and I heard that interview, and you were nothing but cordial.
Yeah. Well, that's the truth.
That's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Bye-bye.
Alex Jones is a miserable, rotten, little, stinking, cowardly, bull-faced liar. Boy, you know, all of these people ought to know better than to mess with me, because I don't take any crap from anybody. And if I'm not afraid of the whole machinations of the entire government Gestapo, what in the hell makes Alex Jones think that I would ever be afraid of his cowardly little rotten butt? Good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to let you know I verify what you said about that Alex Jones interview. They had it archived on the internet at one time, and I did hear that interview, and there was nothing wrong with what you did.
And I wasn't thrown off the air, was I?
Not a bit.
No. And that's the only interview I ever did with Alex Jones. As soon as I found out what he was doing and who he really was, he's called me back at least 100 times since then, and I've always told him to take a hike. So anyway, thank you.
What did you think of Bill Cooper?
Well, Bill Cooper was an alcoholic, and I didn't ever try to attack him. He got mad because the network put me on at night, and he thought, and I'd really never heard his show because I didn't listen to a lot of shortwave. I was busy. But I'd seen his book. It was all about flying saucers, so I didn't finish it. Somebody had given it to me on Access TV like in 96. And then he really started attacking me in 98 because he was an egomaniac. And, you know, talking about flying saucers in the ocean and aliens and all this stuff. And I've tried to never attack him, but people resurrected old tapes he edited of me and stuff. And I just feel sorry for Bill. And he really let him set him up and, you know, ran out there and helped him kill him. And it's just a big distraction, sir. I don't talk about flying saucers and all that stuff, man. I'm sorry. And so, I mean, it's all like an ego thing, like it's two football teams and who's for who. I'm sorry for Bill. But anybody, I mean, he was a liar, though. You know, one time I had him on the radio, and he was cussing, and I delayed him once. Then I said, please don't cuss again. I delayed him again, and I said, okay, thank you, bye-bye. And then he went around saying he never cussed. The guy cussed on air. He cussed at everybody. He was yelling at the board op going, you effing little idiot. You know, I told you to call this number to effing have me on. And then he says that he didn't, you know, he was a pathetic drunk. And I don't like attacking people, but if you really want to know, that's it. Is that your answer? You like that answer? Anything else, sir?
I believe you. I mean, I know you're putting out a lot of truth out there, and I'll tell you the best
Look,
thing
man,
I heard
some dead drunk, and I drink a few beers too, but the point is he would get falling down drunk, okay? And I was nice. He said the IRS was after him, he needed help. I call him up, and I go, hey, this is Alex Jones, I'd like to interview you, get you some help with the IRS. And he goes, I've heard you little SHIT. You don't know as much as I do. And I said, well, I'd like to have you on and help you out with the IRS. I mean, that's what I get for helping him, is him doing that. And then you call me 7 years after he's dead and ask me about him. It isn't about Bill Cooper, okay? It's about Northcom, the New World Order. Get our heads screwed on straight. Deal with the issues. I ask callers to call in and talk about what we're going to do about what's coming down on us. Not a dead, alcoholic, crazy person.
So let's take a few calls right now. Matthew in North Carolina, go ahead.
Hey, Alex, how you doing, bud?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Nothing, man. I just wanted to tell you about, I ran into a Freemason. He told me to read some books, and he said, like, to become a Freemason, not that I wanted to become a Freemason or anything. He said, read William Cooper's To Behold a Pale Horse. I think it was Defrauding America by Ralph Emerson. And I just wanted to let you know, Rush Limbaugh, he told America that William Cooper was dangerous, and he was one of the dangerous radio hosts. So I just want you to be careful, man. Love you.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Look, I'm not in the business of getting in fights with William Cooper. But people tried to set him up against me because he did some jealousy broadcasts. And most people that attack me aren't government agents. They're mad. And he started seeing that I was more popular than him. I never heard his radio show. Never heard it. And you can go back to my early TV shows. You know, I was citing G. Edward Griffin, Ron Paul. Those were the people. If you see those first shows, I was pretty close to a mainline Republican. Kind of like Republicans today that are starting to get into Ron Paul. That was about the level I was at. I mean, I knew about the Federal Reserve. I knew about global banks. I knew about monopoly capitalism. I knew socialism and fascism were controlled by the banks. I'd read Gary Allen's. You know who woke me up? It's Gary Allen. It's Bob Chapman. Bob Chapman, published that book. He paid for it. That's who woke me up. And so I wasn't into UFOs. I've never covered UFOs. That's not me. He was a UFOologist. That's what he did. And he was on WBCQ that no one can hear in Texas. And by the time after I'd interviewed him, trying to help him out when I heard the IRS was after him, the age of the internet had begun, people said, hey, you better know who this guy is. Here are audio recordings of him attacking you. So I was sent cassette tapes that were recorded off shortwave that I could barely understand. So I didn't really listen to much of it. I popped one in, and he said that I'm a transvestite that wears ruby nipple rings, and I thought it was a joke. And then I finally read the Behold a Pale Horse I've been mailed. I've been mailed a lot of them, and it was it said that Jesus was sacrificed by aliens, and there were holograms and flying saucer submarines, and I mean, I couldn't get through it. And so I'm forced to just explain to people that William Cooper could attack me all he wanted to. And that's fine. It was all just because Genesis put my show on at night and he flipped out. Now, since then, I've heard a lot of it and thought I was going up against him. I had never heard him. I don't have time to listen to cassette tapes people send me. One time driving up to Waco to build the memorial church for those that died, I popped it in the cassette in my Tahoe and was just like, I mean, those recordings are out there, He said I was at a public event being given an award dressed as a transvestite and Jesus is an alien. I mean, this was just... Jesus was being filmed with aliens, holograms. I mean, just lunatic crazy. I mean, just lunatic nuts. I had no idea. And I was talking to Jason Burmis about this the other night. He goes, yeah, he went and printed it up, actually. In fact, get Jason's here, and I cleaned off the desk. Get him to print the passages where aliens filmed Jesus being crucified by the other aliens. I mean, folks, if that... it's just so crazy to me that's what COINTELPRO used to try to discredit me, is that guy. Who everybody I talked to said that you would call him up and he would just start screaming and cussing at you. And he was well known for that. And just so out of his mind that I don't think he was an agent, though. I think he was a complete lunatic. And, I cover real issues, things I can prove, documented facts I can cover. And I don't like speaking ill of the dead. But from the grave, that guy attacks me. And, I mean, have people really looked? I mean, it's like that there's some, what's his name? See, I haven't seen much of it, but I've got YouTube hooked up to a TV set in my garage. And for about a week or two, I was addicted to watching videos attacking me so I could run and watch him and laugh. But there's a guy, oh, man, I forget his name. He writes books about the Vatican running everything. And I've exposed the Vatican. I talk about other for world government and New World Order and all this. But no, he says I'm a Vatican assassin agent. It'll pop in my head in a minute, and I'm this super evil guy and all this stuff with no evidence, no proof. And then I actually went and watched him, and he said that Catholic priests doing black magic, fire atom bombs, and that they drop them out of flying saucers on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mean, this is the most howling at the moon, lunatic stuff. And then I get emails the few times I've mentioned that saying, yes, it's true, and you're an evil devil, and you know how to create A-bombs. I mean, these people are, and they mean it, folks. I know how to go zzz, A-bomb, power, power, and I mean, you know, it's crazy. Anyways, I said I'd take your calls. It's just, we're going off down side issues now. I just get sad for people that spend the majority of their time believing these people. And look, I have nothing against Jewish people. I even have Jewish friends who are really nice, great people, and went to college. Jewish friends. I had an Iraqi friend in high school and college, too. You know, Iraqis are nice people. Had black friends, have black friends. But they Photoshop my head and say it's real on somebody's body, and then put me next to a Jewish lady and put me in a photo with rabbis and say it's real. And people say, respond to this. This is your Jewish wedding. It's not true. I mean, you know, I can't spend all day responding to this. Look, I'm not into holograms of Jesus being crucified. I'm not into flying submarines. I'm not into chupacabras. And I'm not bashing people that are. They can be into that all day. But I am who I am. I am what I say I am. And I'm faithful to everybody 110%. I'm the real deal. Just like you're the real deal. And you're meant to get confused and spend all your time and energy wondering if I'm real or not, so that you wonder if you're real. Instead of going out and taking action, warning people, getting involved, going to these county commissioner meetings, city council meetings, when your congressman comes to town, everything I've been saying to show that we, the majority, don't agree with the issues. I try to cover actual issues and trends. Instead, half of our movement spends their time talking about me and whether I'm real or not. And that's great if I was just a Hollywood star and it was whether I was on the tabloids or not. But it's bad. So it's good for me overall because any publicity is good publicity, but it's bad for the overall awakening. That you're not out there doing positive, meaningful, real work, that you're caught up in Operation Chaos, that you're caught up, that's a real FBI program still going on today, to get us all fighting. So I hate saying bad things about Mr. Cooper, but, I mean, it's just the truth. He wrote this stuff, and I influenced him clearly to get more credible now that I've researched it, because his UFO stuff wasn't working. And always changing his stories about the aliens and stuff in the meetings and wild stuff. And then he changed all the story down the road and became the big patriot leader, and he's going to fight the New World Order, and he's the only leader, and everybody else is full of baloney, and nobody's good but him. Remember that? Because, again, and I think he went crazy. But I've seen local talk show hosts that have 10,000 listeners go crazy. They can't handle the power. Me, I become more humble as we gain momentum. And so I trust in God. We'll take more calls when we get back. Next hour coming up. Huge blitz of key info. Stay with us. All right, let's go quickly to your calls. Let's go to Andrew, who disagrees. Then we're going to Lance, Forrest, and many others. You're on the air, Andrew.
Hey, Alex. I've been a long-time listener. Over the past year, I've really become disgusted with a lot of the things you say and do. I made a list of things, actually, if you'll give me just 1 minute to go through it. I know you like to cut people off and not let them finish.
Well, no, I will cut you. Hold on a minute. I will cut you off if something you say I said isn't true or is spun, and I will counter each of your points. But if you actually answer my questions, I'll keep you on. Go ahead.
Okay, let's start with this. I take real issue with the fact that you say you predicted 9/11. It's clear to anyone who can go and look for themselves that Bill Cooper predicted 9/11 1 month before you did. You want to respond, or do you want me to just...
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll respond to that. I mean, Bill Cooper was somebody on like a 5,000-watt shortwave station, and I have heard clips of him saying they're hyping bin Laden, they're going to stage something with him. I specifically said blow up the World Trade Center towers because I knew the feds had bombed it before. So the point is, I didn't hear him say that. I saw the media
coming out and saying Al-Qaeda is going to attack you, give up all of your rights when this happens. I read, sir, a year before 9/11. 2 years before 9/11, all I talked about was government-sponsored terror because it was obvious. I saw the RAND Corporation say about a year before 9/11 that there's going to be terror attacks and we're going to take the American people's rights. Then they have the dark winter drill about 8 months before 9/11, practicing martial law. I mean, this is what Patriot Radio covers. So, of course, other people could see the clear programming. Okay, now let's go to your next point. Go ahead.
Okay, my next point is, you had Bill Cooper on your show one time.
Hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute. Hold on a minute. This is all about patriot mythology, infighting stuff. That's not what I do on my broadcast. Okay? And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say you had Bill Cooper on, and you said that you let him go because he was cussing, and then people go listen to the radio interview and they don't hear cussing, and I appreciate your call. Have a good day. I'm not going to sit here and talk about some dead guy on my show, okay, who talked about flying submarines and flying saucers, and I've got his book, which I hadn't read till just a few years ago. I mean, I remember somebody gave it to me about 12, 14 years ago, and I just looked at it, and as soon as I only read part of it, as soon as it said that he'd seen video that space aliens shot, I mean, this is in there. And every time I mention this, people say I'm making this up. No, he said video that aliens shot of Jesus being crucified. Okay, I'm not a UFO guy. He's a UFO guy. And people try to create this fake thing like there's some issue with me and him. Okay? All right? I mean, literally, he put out an email saying the IRS is surrounding me. I need your help. I called him and said, I'd like to have you on. And he said, you're that, bleeping such and such. You know how smart I am. And I thought, man, the guy was well known for constantly cussing on the air everywhere. And I got him on, and we had 15-second delay. That was on 98.9 FM at the time, talk radio. And I was on there. I can't believe we're talking about this. They're putting poison in the water. They're trying to start war with Iran. And I say, if you disagree, and one guy calls in and says he's for world government and I'm bad because I'm not for it. Another guy's for anchor babies and tries to imply I'm unchristian because I don't want to give free health care to all the illegal aliens and make them citizens when they have the babies here. And then you call in because I don't cover people that supposedly videotape Jesus being crucified. I mean, he said it was a hologram of aliens filming it. That's the wrong show, sir. It's the wrong show. I've probably heard Bill 2 or 3 times. People send me cassette tapes talking about space aliens. I don't cover space aliens. I didn't even cover space aliens last week whenever Churchill, in fact, put it up on screen. Now they've released all these memos where he was saying society will collapse, the aliens are real, what are we going to do? I guess I've got to start covering it. I mean, maybe he did see a hologram of aliens filming Jesus. I mean, I don't know. Wrong show. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's normal to say he saw flying submarines. Okay, yeah, Churchill ordered UFO cover-ups, documents suggest. And I do get a lot of criticism for not covering UFOs here because I can't get people to admit that they're in the process of killing the free internet as we know it. I can't get people to read what's in the Cybersecurity Act. I can't get people to read what's in the Patriot Act and that it's written for the American people, not for foreign terrorists. I mean, I can't get people to admit that bisphenol A gives you cancer and sterilizes you, even when the government admits it. I mean, here's one. This is out of Natural News. HFCS, the poison that promotes obesity and liver damage. 2 new studies have added more reason and concern of high fructose corn syrup cases significantly more harm the body than the mere sugar content. And it goes on, major university reports published in Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior Researchers at Princeton University causes obesity and massive cancer. Now, that's news, and that's what we cover, not holograms, aliens, and Jesus. You got the wrong show, pal. We'll be right back.
largest intelligence apparatus in the world, with the biggest budget in the history of the world, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years, and can't find him. Some doofus, jerk-off reporter with a camera crew waltzes right into his hideout and interviews him. So why do all these fools believe this charade? That a CNN reporter and his little camera crew can do what all the money and all the assets and all the eavesdropping and all the intelligence and all the satellites and all the undercover operatives in the world can never do. It's because they're not trying, they don't want to. Osama bin Laden is their creation, and he is serving them well. I mean, is this some kind of incredible joke that people are so stupid they'll fall for this? And now we're being bombarded with messages that Osama bin Laden is planning to attack the United States of America and Israel. Let me tell you something. If he's an enemy of Israel and the Mossad can't find him, then this thing is the biggest joke that you ever heard of in your life. And I'm telling you, be prepared for a major attack. But it won't be Osama bin Laden. It will be those behind the New World Order who once again want to take the guns and the freedom away from the American people, because we're the only ones left in the world who can oppose the destruction of freedom in the world and then the implementation of a one-world totalitarian socialist government, and that is the goal. And whatever is going to happen that they're going to blame on Osama bin Laden, don't you even believe it. Another social illusion, social engineering project to change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people of the world, and especially the United States, to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government. I wonder what Osama bin Laden's targets are supposed to be. And if they don't, if this doesn't materialize in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it will eventually materialize, because they haven't succeeded in getting the guns out of the hands of the American people, nor have they succeeded in taking our freedoms away. In fact, there's been a great awakening in this country and a big backlash against these Marxist, communist, puke-faced, lying, subversive, Nazi, jackbooted Gestapo thugs that is gaining momentum. And so I can tell you with a certainty, they must do something terrible in order to stop this backlash and regain the sympathy of the mass herds of sheeple out there. And supposedly we're not the only nation searching for Osama bin Laden. So the vast economic resources, the vast technological resources, the vast personnel resources, the vast networks and intricate web spun over all these years by the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA can't find Osama bin Laden, but CNN can? Bullshit. What a crying shame. How in the world could this country of all nations breed such a dumbed down, unthinking, illiterate, uneducated, stupid, ignorant population? Hello? Anybody home? Or have you all just had a total migration of your brain power? You know what I'm talking about out there. And you know me, folks. I only care about the truth, period. The truth. And it's about time some of you got acquainted with the real hard truth. Well, you see, the government knows they can't pull another Waco. They got to try and get us to do something to justify what they want to do. Something stupid, so that they could actually declare martial law and start rounding people up. Should always be prepared for any emergency.
Oh, I was telling people to get prepared and stock up on 2 years of food storage and water and guns and ammunition, everything 8 years ago. Remember, we must have the moral high ground. So we have to wait for them to do something that justifies acting. Whoever fires the first shot loses. I've said that since 1989. I've been telling people that, and it's the truth. And if they fire the first shot, and the militia moves against them legitimately and lawfully to restore constitutional Republican government, and they bring the military against us, the entire American population will support us. But if we fall into these traps, forget it, it's all over. Revolution, you never know what the outcome of a revolution will be. But a restoration has something different. We all know what the outcome is going to be. We know what the goal is, to restore constitutional Republican government, to do away with the excesses in government, to arrest those who have subverted this country and destroyed it, and hold them until they can be tried by a jury of their peers as the Constitution dictates, and find out if they're innocent or guilty. And if they're guilty, hang them. They're trying to instigate the American people to rise up against the government to justify changing the entire character of this nation and bring about one world totalitarian socialist government. That's what they're doing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad that you could join us today for this Wednesday, July 25th, 2001 broadcast. Tyranny is enveloping the globe, and the United States is a shining jewel the globalists want to bring down, and they will use terrorism as the pretext to get it done. So that's coming up in the second half of the show. Very important information. I'm going to put the call out that you call the White House and tell them, look, we've seen the news stories that you've wanted to blow things up, that you have blown things up, and that you're saying that 4 million of us are going to die and we need martial law and the Associated Press. At one of your little drills you had. And that we're aware of who the terrorists are if you pull this. This can stop this Hitlerian Reichstag event. There's a problem, folks. The government is now using that here with Oklahoma City and the World Trade Center, which we have proven in documentaries I've made. General Benton Parton, former head of Air Force Weapons Development, Dr. Frederick Whitehurst, former head of the FBI Crime Lab, Poppy Heidelberg, grand juror, head grand juror of the Oklahoma City grand jury, threatened at his home by the FBI at gunpoint to shut up about the government doing it. The list goes on and on. The seismograph experts at the University of Oklahoma who got the 2 bombing, the Fed's not releasing the 12 surveillance camera tapes that they had of the so-called truck bomb, the columns being sheared off at the bottom with black blast points from plastic explosives, the rebar disintegrated, pieces of the building blown out and across the street, Clinton's approval rating at 32%, 80%, 78% a month after the bombing, the Anti-Terrorism Effective Death Penalty Act passed, basically abolishing the Bill of Rights, creating 60 new federal offenses, reasons to execute you, doubling the size of the FBI and BATF, blaming Christians and conservatives and libertarians with the bombing, and Clinton even blaming talk radio. Why did Hitler burn the Reichstag? Well, he had been elected chancellor, but he wasn't president. To become Fuhrer and to abolish the presidency, to make himself lord of the upper and lower houses of parliament in the Reichstag, he firebombed it. They grabbed a poor, mentally retarded Jewish homeless man off the street, summarily convicted him, executed him, and declared martial law. Now, don't tell me we're not in this system already. I want to put the toll-free number up for Congress. And I won't want you to believe Alex Jones. I want you to go get these news stories off my website. I want you to call these major newspapers. I want you to find out these statements were true by the White House about preparing for martial law. And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. It's like having a convicted child molester next door to you and your son or daughter gets raped. You know who to check with first. You wanted to blow up airliners. You let the Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor. We now have the communiques that prove it. You knew the bombing date, tied the ships together in neat little rows. That's even on the History Channel. We have the documents from the government. You bombed Oklahoma City. You bombed the World Trade Center. That's even been in the New York Times, October 28th, 93. One of your informants went public and recorded the FBI telling them to build the bomb and let the bombing go forward. They were fearing for their lives, so they recorded the FBI, the head FBI agent in New York, telling him to do it. This is to corral you and to control you. Truth is stranger than fiction. This is their main paradigm in history. You don't promote terrorists. You don't advertise them. You don't advertise your weaknesses. You don't talk about how you're wide open. That's how they start out here. We'll collapse. We'll have disintegration. 4 million dead. We're wide open. Yeah, and what are you doing? Don't search those trucks coming over the border. Open the southern and northern border. Give the Chinese military Long Beach Naval Base. Do all this. You know why? They control Mexico. The globalists control China. It's even on the History Channel now, but I've reported documents that Mao was funded and given the weapons, and Czech wasn't. They wanted communism in there. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s, running the Mujahideen war, and whose family builds all the military bases over in Saudi Arabia right now, and sits on the board of Iridium Satellite. He's the boogeyman they need in this Orwellian phony system. U.S. lawmakers warned of dark winter in case of bioterrorist attack. A chilling scenario of possible national collapse was presented Monday. U.S. lawmakers by a group of prominent security experts who warned that a biological terrorist attack on U.S. soil could bring the country to the brink of disintegration. The panel, which included former Deputy Secretary of Defense John Harm, Oklahoma governor, and one of the architects of the Oklahoma City building bombing, Frank Keating, as his brother wrote, The Final Jihad, 3 years before the bombing, where a Ted... I mean, this is amazing. Where a Ted McVeigh bombs the Murrah building. God, Keating, how'd you know that? I have a copy. I went to the bookstore. Oh, it's out of print. You'll have to get it from somebody else. The Final Jihad. Keating, how'd your brother write that book? I got so much evidence. And in the start of the book, it says, I honor this to the Knights of the Secret Circle. Oh. A chilling scenario. The panel, which included former Deputy Secretary of Defense John Harm, Oklahoma Governor Frank Keating, former FBI agent, and former Senator Sam Nunn, presented their conclusions after holding a 2-day exercise codenamed Dark Winter, which featured a computer-simulated bioterrorist attack on 3 U.S. cities. Again, governors, congressmen and women, senators, FBI people, local police, all here for this fear fest. Give up your rights. Ladies and gentlemen, they wanted to blow up airlines, kill Americans, bomb Washington for a pretext to invade Cuba. That's in the Baltimore Sun. They bombed Oklahoma City. They bombed the World Trade Center. That's proven. They stand to gain. They get the power. It's not our government. It's an occupational government. It's not the Constitution that failed. It's us that failed. We that failed the Constitution. I want the White House numbers up there now. A big part of this solution, after you research all the government terrorism and check out what I'm saying is true, call the White House and tell them, we know the government's planning terrorism. We know Oklahoma City and World Trade Center was terrorism. We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun. If you do it, we're going to blame you because we know who's up to it. Or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And you could save the planet. I'm calling it Operation Expose the Government Terrorist. Because now they're going from killing 160 people at Oklahoma City and 81 at Waco and a couple dozen injuring 1,000 at the World Trade Center to saying 1 to 4 million. Associated Press. Call the White House, tell them, we're not going to put up with government terrorism. We know the government's behind all this stuff. We have the evidence. Fax them, write them. In fact, throw it back up, Mike. That is so important. Thanks for putting that up there. And if you missed the numbers, they're on Infowars.com. Let's take another call. So important to call the White House, to call your congressmen and women, and let them know we're aware of their terrorist paradigm to control us. We'll throw that number up one more time and then put up the slate at the end of the show. Just I appreciate everybody out there. We'll probably be back next week from 4:30 to 7 here on Channel 10. Please wake up as many people as you can and resist it. You have the power, but you have to get off the bench. And don't believe what I'm saying. Don't pass on rumors. Get the documents for yourself. Become an effective person. You have power, but you've got to be effective. God bless you. I'll see you tonight, 9 o'clock on the radio, Infowars.com.
You know, quite a few years ago, when Bill Clinton was inaugurated, was in one of his speeches, he recognized one single individual as being very important to him philosophically. And that was a bit of a surprise because I knew about the individual, and some of you may know about him, but it's worth looking into. And his name was Carroll Quigley. He wrote the book Tragedy and Hope. Now, the important part of Tragedy and Hope and Carroll Quigley is that he claims that he was on the inside and part of the group that, did the planning. But why did he write Tragedy and Hope? To expose these people behind the scenes? Because he believed they were far enough advanced, it didn't have to be secret. They could be out in the open. And this is the way it works. It's a tragedy if you don't accept this, and there's hope if you know who runs the show. That's my interpretation, but I believe it's correct.
The beast is upon us, oh God! It's gonna get worse and worse, oh! They love death, they come to kill! They are killing! I'm sorry. The New World Order's gotta be defeated, oh God! Please, God, please protect us from the New World Order! Please protect the children, oh God! Oh God! Oh God! No! Just Stephanie, play Renegades or something. I gotta get myself together. We'll come back and get into the news. I'm sick of chronicling their evil.